In today's podcast, you'll learn all about gemstones, such as diamonds, sapphires, and emeralds. We'll talk about which gemstones are associated with which months of the year, and you'll learn lots of vocabulary all connected to precious stones. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello and welcome, especially if you're a new listener to the podcast. And if you've come back to listen again, thank you very much. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And the two of us, with more than 50 years of teaching English between us, will help you improve your English and take it up to the next level. How are you doing, Reza?
I'm fine, although I am feeling a little bit old because the cold weather's coming and my joints are beginning to feel a little bit stiff. Your joints are your articulations, your knees. I'm beginning to feel a bit old. And do you know why?
I know. Well, I can hear your joints creaking from here. I can hear them making a noise as you sat down. Yeah. Why are you feeling old?
I think it always happens at this time of year, the change of weather. And as you said at the beginning, more than 50 years of teaching between us, I would actually question that and say, we need to change that. It's more like 60 years of teaching between us now. That's how old we are. I think I've been teaching for at least 30 years, and I think you too.
Yeah.
So we should change that. So we are. I feel old because I am old. And between us, we have 60 years of teaching.
Yeah, it's depressing, but I guess it's better than the alternative. So what's first this week?
We got a voice message from Antonio from Seville or Sevilla.
Hello, this is Antonio from Seville in South Spain. You are talking about the famous dictators and you forget the most important dictator in the modern Spain, that is Francisco Franco. He was in the power from 1936 and 1975, a long time. I remember because I was a young man when Franco was in the power, and it's not easy to live in the Spain. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your message, Antonio. And yes, of course, it's a very good point. And of course, we know about General Franco. You can't live in Spain and never have heard of Franco. The main reason we didn't include Franco was because, if you remember, we used the idea that it would be the dictators who had killed, famous dictators who had killed a lot of people, and in order from 1 to 10 of how many people they killed. Now, we know that General Franco, he did kill people. We don't want to argue about the right and wrong of that because it can be very controversial in Spain. But compared to the other dictators, globally, he's probably not so well known and he didn't kill that many people compared to others. So that's the reason we didn't put him on our list. But of course, we do appreciate his importance, not only in Spanish history, but in European history. What do you think, Craig?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, thank you for taking the time to send us your message, Antonio. And of course, I know about Franco because my wife also grew up as a young girl in the Franco times. So obviously she tells me what that was like. And I have a fairly good knowledge of what it might have been like to live under Franco's dictatorship. If people are interested in listening to that episode about the 10 most infamous dictators, go to inglespodcast.com/542 to hear our list of those 10. Now, getting to the English that Antonio used in his message, which is why we're here doing this podcast. Reza, did you notice anything that Antonio can improve?
I did. It was a very clear message and I understood every single word you said, Antonio, but there's a couple of little things that would make it even more correct. First of all, you said to us, you forget the most important dictator. But because you're talking about a podcast that we did in the past, it would be better to use the past simple to say, you forgot the most important dictator.
Another thing I noticed, Antonio, is that you said he was in the power from 1936 until 1975. No article with power. He was in power. We use that expression to speak about when a head of state has power. We just say he was in power or she was in power at this time. So thanks again for your message, Antonio.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing? I think you also said the modern Spain as well. And I understand why, because you don't normally say La España in Spanish, you just say Spain. But in Spanish, you can say La España moderna, and you put in the article la. But in English, never with a country. So it's just Spain or modern Spain. But we don't add the with a country unless it's part of the title. So modern Spain, no the.
Our focus this week is on the topic of gemstones, precious stones, and that's thanks to a lovely email we received from Carmen, and she suggested today's topic. In her email, Carmen also mentioned the flash floods that have happened in Valencia, the Dana, and people that have been affected. So yes, to answer that, Carmen, we do know people that have been affected. I think it's very unusual that someone living in Valencia doesn't know someone or is distantly related to someone or has some kind of connection to someone who was affected. My wife used to work with someone who was affected badly by that in a village where she lives. Reza and I know somebody who is an ex-colleague who was also affected. Yes, we do know, sadly, people who have lost their houses and have been affected badly by it. And fingers are being pointed, aren't they, Reza? We won't get into politics, but now the blame game is happening. Who was responsible? Why did it happen? So there's lots of news, local news here in Spain about what was not done correctly and maybe, hopefully, how this can be avoided in the future.
Now, just before we start talking about gemstones, can I just link this to Antonio's message? I've just thought of an interesting anecdotal piece of historical information. I'm pretty sure this is true. Pretty sure means more or less sure. A lot of people confirm it. You were talking about El Generalissimo, General Franco. Did you know, Antonio and other listeners, that his wife was famous for her obsessive love of gemstones?
Really?
She was absolutely nuts about precious stones.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I had no idea.
She had lived for them. She adored them. She had a huge collection. But here's the funny bit. That's not so strange, being the wife of a powerful man. But a lot of Gallegos, people from Galicia, have corroborated this for me. So she often found herself in Santiago because Franco was from Galicia. And so often they were there. And she used to go to jewelers and basically, to cut a long story short, that means let's get rid of the details and go straight to the point. If she liked the look of something, basically, the jewelers felt they had to give it to her as a present and she didn't pay. And I know some Gallegos have said it's true, and they have kind of inside information. They said they kind of formed a kind of unofficial insurance company, and all the jewelers in Santiago decided, listen, we'll all bear the costs of Franco's wife whenever she comes. So if she comes to your store and takes this, in today's money, £30,000 diamond, we'll share the cost between us because it could be me next week. That is true.
Imagine that. That's so unusual. A politician getting something free just because they're powerful people. That never happens, does it, in any country? Yeah, I'm being facetious there. So gemstones, maybe we should start by describing a gemstone. It's a precious, I said that word before, precious or semi-precious mineral, which can be used in jewellery, as Reza just mentioned, or as decoration. And a precious stone is a high-value gemstone. such as a diamond, for example. You've probably heard of diamonds. Maybe you've heard of rubies, sapphires, or emeralds, all precious stones. Right, so what's a semi-precious stone?
Well, I'm no expert, but I guess it's basically what it says. It's precious, but not worth as much money as the precious ones.
Exactly.
Is that it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Less valuable than precious stones. Examples, a garnet is a semi-precious stone, and an amethyst is also semi-precious. Now, I know you like your vegetables, I know you like carrots, but there's another word that has the same pronunciation as carrot with a different spelling. What's the connection of carrot to gemstones?
Okay, so we're talking about C-A-R-A-T, but it's pronounced carrot, the same pronunciation as the vegetable, but different spelling. And this carat is a unit of weight for gemstones. So 1 carat is equivalent to 200 milligrams of weight. So you've probably heard that people often talk about, it seems to be common to divide carats into divisions of 12 or 24. I think also 36. They're very common weights that you hear, aren't you? Isn't that right, Kate? 12, 24, 36 carats?
Well, I looked at this because I thought it's strange that they talk about weight, but it seems to be different. We've heard of carat, 24 carat gold. And I think when you're talking about gold, it's the purity of the metal, how pure it is. So pure gold will be 24 carats. But it seems that stones, when you talk about carats with gemstones, you're talking about the weight. So it seems to have a slightly different meaning.
Okay, depending on whether it's diamonds or other stones. Okay, that's fascinating.
That's what I read. I did not know that. Yeah. So as far as gemstones are concerned, a carat is 200 milligrams in weight.
Another useful word to talk about gemstones is luster. L-U-S-T-E-R. Luster is the way a gemstone reflects light. Because even though we're not experts, all of us know that a really expensive, valuable gemstone, if it catches the light, it looks fantastic. It looks brilliant. It does things with the light that normal stones can't do. And that effect is called the luster.
And in order to get that lovely luster, gemstones need to be cut. So we use the verb to cut a stone to make the most of its reflection of light. And clarity is another common word used to talk about gemstones. Clarity, from how clear something is. So if a stone has good clarity, that means there are no internal flaws in a gemstone. Now, a flaw, F-L-A-W-S, same pronunciation as F-L-O-O-R, the floor you stand on, but different spelling. A flaw is a mark or an imperfection. Another word you could use is a blemish. So it's not perfect. It's been marked in some way. So if there are no flaws in a stone, you speak about its clarity.
Now, everybody I'm sure knows the adjective brilliant and the noun brilliance, how fantastic something is, but it has a different meaning when it's specifically related to gemstones. The brilliance of a gemstone is the brightness and the reflection of light from a gemstone. So the more reflective the light and the brighter, the higher the brilliance.
And brilliance is interesting. Brilliance is of course the noun, and brilliant, as I said, the adjective. But you can talk about a brilliant person, meaning very, very clever, very talented, a brilliant musician, for example. In British English, we often use it colloquially as meaning very good. For example, I saw a brilliant film. That's not connected to how bright the film was. That's connected to how good we thought it was. Or you might say, oh, my birthday present's arrived. That's brilliant. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. So in British English, we use brilliant to describe something that's very good.
And Craig, it's a little bit old-fashioned, I think, but when I was a kid, I quite often used to use a short form of brill.
Brill, yeah.
That's brill.
That's brill, isn't it? Yeah.
Brilliant is brill. Yeah.
That podcast is brill, mate. Yeah, very colloquial. Rarity comes from the adjective rare. So rarity, the noun, the scarcity of a gemstone. So how many of them are there? How easy are the gemstones to extract from the earth? If it's very rare, then obviously that contributes to its value, makes it more expensive. The rarity of a gemstone.
Now, radiance is a common word, not only for gemstones, but for other things. And it's a warm glow, in the case of gemstones, light, so a glowing light emitted by a gemstone. But if it were, for example, for a person, you could say a person emits radiance. They're just a happy, friendly, warm person, a nice person to be beside. But the radiance of a gemstone is specifically related to the warm glow. So glow, Glow, is light which kind of looks like a not very fierce fire. If you can think of a fire which has been lit for a long time, but it's not burning very widely now, but it's still orangey, yellowy, reddish kind of color. It's glowing. So that's the radiance of a gemstone.
And if you buy Reza some chocolate biscuits, he might write you a glowing reference for your CV.
I will.
One thing about radiance, the noun, and radiant with a T at the end is the adjective. And I always say to my wife every morning when I wake up, darling, you look radiant today.
Craig, what's your favorite gemstone?
I don't really have one. I mean, I like rubies, sapphires, and diamonds, but whenever I look in a jeweler's shop window, my eyes tend to look more at watches than at gemstones. I don't feel particularly attracted to gemstones when I see them in a ring or in jewelry or a necklace. It's not something that I really think about a lot or I'm attracted to. What about you? Do you like them or do you notice them?
Not very much, but if I had to choose, I like turquoise. I like that. But I also, you can't be from Ireland and not like emeralds.
Oh, it's the Emerald Isle.
It's the Emerald Isle. Everything's green. And I do like emeralds, I must say.
And you're wearing a lovely emerald checked shirt today. I don't know if that's a coincidence or you chose that on purpose.
It is a coincidence.
Okay. So we did speak about a similar topic because we're going to go through the months now and talk about the gemstones that are attributed or attached to each month. And we did a similar thing with the 12 signs of the zodiac. So if you go to inglespodcast.com/540, you can hear that episode and you might find it interesting if you like this one. So let's start with birthstones and particular months. Well, first of all, what is a birthstone?
Well, a birthstone is, if you divide it into its parts, birth and stone, it's a stone, a precious stone, a gemstone, which is associated with a particular month as regards when people are born. So if you were born in a specific month, supposedly a specific type of gemstone for that month is your birthstone. It has a special affinity, a special connection with you because you were born in that month. So it's not exactly the same as horoscopes, star signs, because they're not exactly a specific month. They go between 2 months. For example, I'm Sagittarius. I was born in December, but also some people born in November are Sagittarius.
They overlap, don't they?
They overlap. That's the word. But with birthstones, it doesn't work that way. It's just one per month. It's much simpler.
Now, be honest, before we prepared this episode, did you know your birthstone? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
No, because they're more common. The signs of the zodiac, we tend to know, oh yeah, Gemini, I know I'm twins. So we tend to know our zodiac sign, but not the gemstone. So I was interested to find out mine, and we'll get to that later. So what's the first one? January. I can see here it's garnet, Garnet. What are the characteristics of a garnet stone for January?
Well, yeah, it just so happens, that means coincidentally, we're starting with perhaps one of the least known gemstones of all.
Semi-precious.
It's January, and it's garnet. It symbolizes protection and trust and friendship. The color is a deep red, and it's also, as red often is, associated with vitality and energy. Yeah, being alive. Yeah, full of life. Some people think that garnets shield the wearer from injury. The wearer is the person who's wearing the gemstone. It could be in the form of a necklace around their neck or a bracelet or some other type of jewelry. And this idea that it protects you from injury made them particularly popular in centuries past amongst warriors, fighters, and royalty because they wanted to feel protected.
So moving on to the next one in February, the gemstone for February is amethyst. Remember, you can see these words and all the spellings and show notes for this episode at inglespodcast.com/545, so you can follow along as we're speaking about them. And the color purple, amethyst has the color purple, which was a very good film. I don't know if you've seen The Color Purple with Whoopi Goldberg. Did you know that Whoopi Goldberg has married the French actor Gerard Depardieu?
No way.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
She's now known as Whoopi Doopy Doo.
Very good. Very good.
Lucky she didn't marry Peter Cushing.
Whoopi Cushing, very good.
Anyway, back to the podcast. So as the color purple, this stone amethyst, it has long been connected with royalty because purple is a color that is connected and has been connected for many years with royal families. And the ruling class, so the upper classes, the people who rule society. And over time, this gemstone amethyst has been associated strongly with spirituality and also mental clarity, thinking clearly, and also healing. The verb to heal means to make well, to cure someone. So it's considered a healing stone. And ancient cultures believed it guarded against intoxication, getting drunk. So you can have as many beers and glasses of wine as you like, as long as you're wearing amethyst around your neck. That sounds interesting.
If only I'd known that before, I could have avoided a lot of embarrassing situations in my past.
And hangovers. Maybe it's a hangover cure. What's March, Reza?
For March, we've got aquamarine. So you could probably guess that the word aquamarine comes from Latin for aqua, water, so the sea, and marine, sea, water. Yep, aquamarine, sea, water. You won't be surprised to hear that they have a calming blue color like the sea. And they're thought to protect seafarers. That is a person who travels by sea and travelers in general. And some people associate aquamarines also with marital happiness, being happy with your husband or wife, and also with superior intellect. That's aquamarine.
April is one I'm sure you've heard of, and that's diamond. So the gemstone for April is diamond, and it might not come as a surprise to realize that diamond is extremely hard. So it's durable and, of course, very, very beautiful, especially when diamonds are cut so that they reflect the light. They are beautiful, beautiful stones. And because they're so hard and because they're associated with strength and fertility and eternal love, then they're obviously often used in engagement rings, wedding rings, the ultimate gemstone of commitment. Also, there's a measurement scale that I had not heard of called Mohs, M-O-H-S. And the Mohs scale measures the hardness of gemstones. And diamond is 10 out of 10. So it's the hardest stone available.
That's probably why diamonds are also used by industry to cut things.
Yes, in mining, for example.
Yeah. So can you imagine that? The machine which cuts through the ground is a very, very expensive machine because the cutting implement is made of the top, absolute best, hardest diamond you can get. Very expensive equipment.
Yeah, cutting, drilling, also polishing, all use diamonds for that.
Now, Craig, people say diamonds are a girl's best friend. Well, that's what Marilyn Monroe said. Do you think she was right?
Well, it depends what girl, I suppose. I mean, some women love jewellery and diamonds. I'm lucky that my wife doesn't really care about jewels that much, so that saved me a few pounds over the years. But some women love the attraction of gemstones, and I can see the beauty of it because they are very, very attractive. But I guess it's the kind of person you are. You either love them or you don't have an opinion one way or the other. Let's just take a break for a couple of minutes so that I can tell you how to improve your spoken English. Now, if you need to speak more confidently and effectively, if you feel nervous and get stuck sometimes when you need to speak in English, I think my conversation fluency course can help you. You'll be speaking on Zoom with me and a small group of lovely, motivated students, and together we'll help you take your speaking to the next level. Does that sound good? If it does, send me an email for more details to Craig, C-R-A-I-G, at inglespodcast.com, and I'll let you know about prices, dates, and more details about the courses. It's great that you listen to this podcast, and I really hope we're helping you to improve your English. But in my opinion, you need to be proactive and take your spoken English one step further if you want to communicate effectively in English. So send me an email, Craig at inglespodcast.com, and I really look forward to seeing you on the inside. Thanks for listening. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
For the next month, May, we've got, as I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite, emeralds.
My favorite too. That's my month.
Oh, really? But is this just, you're just saying this because you discovered, or you've always really liked emeralds?
I am saying it. It's me saying it.
Aha.
It's nobody else. It's not AI.
No, we haven't used AI yet. It's still our own horrible voices. So did you genuinely like emeralds before you read this and discovered they were your birthstone?
No, but I like him. I like them now. Now that I know that it's my birthstone, then I do like the color green. I must admit, green is one of my favorite colors. So maybe that's a coincidence. But I never thought, oh, I love emeralds. That's my favorite stone. That never occurred to me to think that.
Well, you'll be pleased or not to hear, I don't know, that they represent rebirth, being born again, love and fertility. Does that surprise you that that's your birthstone?
Considering I don't have any children, that does surprise me because fertility is having offspring, becoming pregnant, producing life. We speak about fertile soil. When you plant in fertile soil, things grow. So I don't have a big family at all. So for me, that's not true.
And the vibrant, that means that really alive, the vibrant green stone is often linked to growth and renewal, things being eternally being born again and again and again, never dying. It's very much connected to that. And some people believe that if you wear emeralds, it will give you a heightened and increased intelligence and allow you to think objectively. All that if you wear an emerald. Well, if that's true, I think I'm going to start wearing a few.
Maybe if I start wearing emeralds, I might have kids. Do you think?
You'll have kids and your intelligence will increase.
I'll become intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's worth the investment. June, we go to pearls, Pearls, pearls. Now, pearls are the only gems found in living creatures, oysters. So pearls are found in oysters. I think it starts with a small grain of sand, and then through the process, it becomes a pearl. Although these days, most pearls that are used in jewellery, etc., they're cultivated and cultured artificially. because they are extremely rare in nature, and it's very difficult to find pearls in nature. And what are they associated with? Well, honesty, purity, and wisdom. And some cultures associate pearls with the divine, the godly, the sacred, believing that pearls were tears shed from heaven. That expression, to shed a tear, means to cry, because if you shed, that means something comes out of you, in this case, out of your body, and tears, that's the water that comes from your eyes when you cry. So to shed tears from heaven.
Now, Pearl can be a woman's name. Perhaps it's a little bit old-fashioned, but there are still a few around. July can also be a woman's name. Ruby. Do you know any Pearls?
I don't know any pearls. Maybe my mum had a friend called Pearl, I'm thinking. A distant cousin, perhaps. But you're right, it's an old-fashioned name. It's not very common now. Neither is Ruby. There's Ruby Wax, who's a famous comedian. But I don't know any Rubies, do you?
Not personally, no. I can think of a few famous people, but it's, as you say, old-fashioned, yeah. So Ruby can be a woman's name, but it can be a gemstone, and it can be a birthstone, and it has long been connected with physicality and strength, but also with passion and love. And rubies have always been favored by warriors, people who fight, and they're thought to be intimately connected with the human body. So a very, very physical, a very bodily birthstone is the ruby.
In August, the gemstone is peridot, a gemstone that I hadn't heard of. That's new to me. Peridots have been credited with protecting their wearer during the night. So if you wear peridots, you're protected according to this. And this is because they have a very lively appearance, and there are ancient associations between the gemstone and the sun. And it's thought that keeping this stone close to you when it's dark and there's no sun, then this will repel nighttime evil spirits. To repel means to push away. So if you are a bit fearful of the dark and you can't get to sleep because you're having problems, maybe try wearing a peridot, and that might help you to get through the night because it represents the sun.
Now, many people have never even heard the word peridot, but nearly everybody, I'm sure, knows about sapphires. Be careful with the spelling, though. S-A-P-P-H-I-R-E. Sapphires are the birthstone of September, and they're considered to be a protective gemstone. In other words, they may shield, protect the wearer from physical harm, as well as bad intentions and envy. So not only physical, but other types of harm. Blue sapphires, specifically, are considered highly spiritual stones, and in fact have even been worn by priests, by religious people.
The gemstone for October is the opal, O-P-A-L, which is a very fruity stone. Reminds me of orange, lemon, strawberry. No, Reza?
You're thinking of opals, which was a famous type of sweet.
Opal fruits.
Yeah, opal fruits in Britain, yeah.
Exactly. Always reminds me of opal fruits, the opal. Now, opals are a gemstone, and they are associated with light and magic. And some credit opals with healing properties. There's that word, to heal again, to cure, to make you feel better, feel well. Especially for the eyes, apparently. And some people believe that opals could even make the wearer invisible. I don't know what people see in opals. Doctor, the invisible man is here. Tell him I can't see him. November, Reza.
November could be one of two things, both topaz, that's T-O-P-A-Z, and citrine, C-I-T-R-I-N-E. Both of those birthstones are associated with November. Topaz symbolizes love and affection, whereas citrine, which has sunny, like the sun, sunny yellow we might say the word hues, Hues. Hues are like very subtle, very discreet tones of something.
Colors, right?
Colors,
Shades.
but shades, yeah. Not really obvious colors, but you have to look carefully to see the hues of something.
Yeah.
So it has sunny yellow hues. This is citrine. And it represents joy and prosperity. So let me repeat that. November, I have a choice of two. Topaz, love and affection, or citrine, joy and prosperity.
So now we move to the final month and our final gemstone. Well, gemstones, because there's more than one. December, represented by turquoise. I believe that is your month, Reza. Your birthday's coming up soon. Turquoise or possibly tanzanite or zircon are the other two stones associated with December, together with turquoise. Now, turquoise is a color, but the gemstone is linked to protection and good fortune, good luck. Now, tanzanite, the other stone associated with December, represents transformation, transforming into other things. And the third stone, zircon, symbolizes wisdom and spiritual growth. Did you know any of those stones as your... You didn't. You said you hadn't heard of them before.
No, I've heard of all the stones. I've heard of all of them.
But not associated with your
I didn't
month.
know. But I've always really loved the color turquoise. It's definitely of my 2 or 3 favorite colors. Turquoise has always been one of them. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if that's a coincidence or maybe there's something to these birthstones. Maybe it's not just a rumor, but it's science. Who knows?
Who knows? So what is your birthstone? And do you think these stones have these powers that we've mentioned? Or do you think it's all a load of rubbish? We would love to hear your opinion. And maybe if you work in the industry and you do work, you have a jeweler's shop, for example, or you're working in the industry of gemstones, we'd love to hear your comments and anything you'd like to add to the information in this podcast. Now, we like you to send voice messages, and actually we have a guest mystery voice this week because every week we say send us a message using our SpeakPipe service, and this is a message that we received from one of you.
Why not practice your speaking and send us a voice message? Just click the orange Start Recording button.
So that's exactly what you need to do. Go to speakpipe.com, speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. There's a link in the show notes, and we would love to hear what you think. How can people contact us by emails, Reza?
If you prefer to write, you can send an email to craig@inglespodcast.com or belfastreza@gmail.com.
And if you're a Spanish speaker and you would like to improve your English with free and paid resources, go to the Mansion Ingles website at mansioningles.com. And for paid products from Mansion Ingles, you can go to the online store. That link is also in the show notes. It's store.mansioningles.net.
As always, we'd like to say thank you to all our Patreon supporters. And if you join the Patreon program, as a way of saying thank you for your donation, we will give you instant access to the audio transcriptions of this podcast and a new recent addition, live Zoom chats, so that you can practice speaking. If you're interested, have a look at the link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/Inglespodcast.
Yes, and speaking of the live Zoom chats, special thanks to Concha, Nacho, and Denise, who came along last week to chat with me just about things and just to catch up and see what we've been doing recently. It was lovely to talk to you. And if you're thinking of jumping on and maybe you're not so sure whether maybe you're feeling a bit shy and you're not sure about speaking English, come along and say hello. It's not necessary to stay for a long time. We were speaking for about 50 minutes. I usually stay on for about an hour. So you don't have to. You can come in for 5 or 10 minutes, say hello, tell us where you're from, and then leave. It would just be lovely to see your face and say hello to you. So don't be a stranger. Come and join us next month there will be another live Zoom chat before the end of the year.
We'd like to list every single supporter's name who helps us in the Patreon scheme, but we haven't got time. So as usual, we're just going to mention the most recent sponsors who've joined us this month, and they are Ricard Sampere, Azucena de la Cruz, and Maria Rosa Lara Jimenez.
Thank you to you and to everybody who is supporting us on Patreon. Now, in next week's episode, we'll be speaking about health and focusing on how you can speak to a doctor or a medical professional and describe your symptoms, tell them how you're feeling, and communicate what you need in order to feel better. So join us for that next week. Until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's bye-bye from me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please mention it to your friends so that more people can listen. And the music this week is by Pids. The track is called See You Later.